Real Madrid signing a Chelsea star for 120 mil, Casemiro heading to Inter Miami, Dybala back to Juve, and a Premier League giant ready to splash 87 million on Tchouaméni. All this and much more in today's episode. Before we get into the news, give it a like. It genuinely helps more than you'd think. Done? Let's dive straight in. Casemiro's officially off to play out his days under the Florida sun. Yep, the 34-year-old Brazilian's agreed terms with David Beckham's Inter Miami, where he'll now be lining up alongside Lionel Messi. American bureaucracy nearly gatecrashed the party. Mind. There was some daft legal wrangling over so-called discovery rights to the player, which had somehow ended up with LA Galaxy, and Beckham had to stump up around $750K just to buy his way out of that mess. But all the obstacles are cleared now. A verbal agreement's in place. Fabrizio Romano's confirmed it. So the moment the World Cup wraps up, Casemiro will be pulling on the pink shirt. He'll slot into midfield alongside Messi and Rodrigo de Paul. And it's good news for Brazil as well. Carlo Ancelotti's brought the veteran back into the fold, and now he can focus purely on international duty without club football dragging him down. Casemiro's walking in as a free agent. Back in January, he'd already announced he was leaving Manchester United, turning down the option to extend by a year. And the bosses at Old Trafford were probably quietly relieved. Paying an aging star 325 grand a week wasn't exactly part of the financial plan going forward. He never fancied sticking around in England, and America suits him far better anyway. The climate and culture are closer to home, plus there's a tidy paycheck waiting for his later years. Serie A's leisurely pace and Saudi money never got a look in. When it's foggy Manchester versus the beaches of Miami, with Messi next door, there's not much thinking required, is there? Real Madrid are back on the transfer market with a live grenade in their pocket, and by the looks of things, Chelsea are about to have a thoroughly miserable few months. The Spaniards are planning a proper summer overhaul, all in the name of giving Jose Mourinho a strong first season back in the dugout. According to sources at ESPN, the special one needs a new conductor for his midfield, and he set his sights on Enzo Fernandez. Madrid were already drooling over the Argentine back in his Benfica days, but Chelsea outbid everyone and splashed a British record fee to get him. Now the bill's coming due. Enzo himself seems to be mentally booking flights to Spain already. Remember that ill-advised interview where he said Madrid reminded him of Buenos Aires and he dreamed of living there? Chelsea's hierarchy benched him for 2 matches as punishment for that little bout of nostalgia. But when Mourinho himself is giving you the wink, staying put gets difficult. Naturally, the Londoners won't roll over without a fight. Their asking price is £120 million. You can admire a player all you like, but a 9-figure fee is a different conversation entirely. By the way, £120 million for a player, that's painful to even say out loud. A like on this video though, completely free, even if the YouTube algorithm treats it like it's worth just as much. Don't be like Todd Bowley. Don't waste a freebie when you've got one sitting right there. For Chelsea, losing Enzo wouldn't just be a hole in the squad, it'd be a dent in the club's whole identity. He was bought as the symbol of a new era, the foundation they plan to build around for years. So what now? Hit reset on a project that's already been through more upheaval than it can handle? Sure, relations between the two clubs are warm enough after the Cucurella deal, but there's no room for sentiment in business. Chelsea need to dig in, keep calm, and demand full value for a World Cup winner. Looks like it's shaping up to be a long, stuffy summer. One club guarding its prized possession, the other trying to prize it away for whatever it costs. Paulo Dybala's about to hand us another transfer soap opera. His Roma contract runs out at the end of this month, and talks have hit a brick wall. The 32-year-old Argentine's given the Romans years of loyal service since 2022, becoming an absolute darling of the local fanbase. But the club's decided to penny pinch. Dybala was willing to take a serious pay cut, asking for between £2 and £6 million a year after tax, and Roma's bosses came back with a measly £2 million flat. Now La Gioia's packing his bags, while Juventus and Napoli watch this whole drama unfold with bated breath. Dybala's undeniably a gifted player, but his fitness record is a quiet horror story. Last season in Serie A, he only started 15 times, chipping in with 2 goals and 7 assists. When he's fit though, he's pure magic, and it was his assist in the final round of the season that sent Roma into the Champions League. Now that Juventus find themselves without Dusan Vlahovic, Luciano Spalletti's staring at a gaping hole up front. Bringing the old Turin favourite back as a free agent looks like the obvious, tidy solution. The Bianconeri are already putting feelers out through his camp. Yes, Dybala's closing in on 33. He's perpetually in the treatment room, and he doesn't exactly fit Spalletti's ideal profile. But when a free agent of that caliber's sitting on the market, resisting the temptation is nearly impossible. Signing Dybala is a bit like buying a vintage sports car. Gorgeous to look at, brutal on the wallet to maintain, and most of the time, it just sits in the garage. Mason Greenwood's back on the menu in the English press. The reliable L'Équipe sent the rumour mill into overdrive with the news that Arsenal and Tottenham are both eyeing up a return for him to the Premier League. Marseille are currently knee-deep in a financial crisis over financial fair play breaches. They've already been hit with a £9 million fine, and now they urgently need to offload some of their best assets. Greenwood, fresh off a monster season, is the shiniest item in the shop window. The Englishman put up brilliant numbers in France, 26 goals and 11 assists this season, taking his total to 48 goals in 81 appearances for the club. But let's be cynical about this for a second. Premier League clubs have spent years carefully pretending Greenwood doesn't exist. Following the scandal involving his partner, his price tag's currently hovering around £48 million. Spurs have already denied interest, but the rumours keep dragging him back to North London regardless. For Manchester United, this whole circus is basically a free gift. Having sold him last summer for a modest £27 million, they wrote a clause into the deal entitling them to 40% of any future profit on a resale. Mason himself insists he's happy in Provence and wants to stay, even with Marseille up against the wall financially. Word is, though, that he's desperate to prove he belongs at the very top and is pushing his agents to engineer a move to a European giant. Touching Greenwood right now is like playing Russian roulette with the gun already pointed at your club's reputation. There's a serious clear-out brewing at Real Madrid, and England's big clubs are already rubbing their hands together. According to Team Talk, the Galacticos' top brass have politely informed 26-year-old Aurélien Tchouaméni that his days as an untouchable starter are over. That Mourinho pursuit of Enzo Fernandez, we mentioned earlier, hasn't gone unnoticed. The Frenchman's been made to understand a guaranteed starting spot is no longer his to take for granted. A recent training ground flare-up between Tchouaméni and Federico Valverde hasn't helped matters either. The club put a brave face on it at the time, insisting the Frenchman was untouchable, but he's now available for £87 million. Liverpool and Manchester United have both snapped their radars on instantly. The Merseysiders chased Tchouaméni back in 2022 and lost out to Madrid, and with uncertainty hanging over Alexis Mac Allister's future, they need that midfield depth and power more than ever. Old Trafford see things from a different angle. For them, he's the perfect like-for-like replacement for the departing Casemiro, and his Champions League pedigree makes him a priority. They've worked out that paying £87 million for a ready-made operator beats getting fleeced inside the Premier League market. By the way, while the big clubs slug it out, I'll remind you, 80% of you watching regularly aren't subscribed. That's like running through one-on-one and not even bothering to shoot. Don't be like Chelsea on a bad day. Hit subscribe and turn notifications on right now. It costs nothing and it's worth more than any £80 million deal. Contacts being maintained with the players' camp throughout the summer, with Arsenal and Chelsea also lazily keeping an eye on developments. When a royal club like this puts its best destroyer up for sale, there's no point pretending you haven't got a few spare millions lying around for a dream signing.